Hi everyone, I'm Arier, and today we're going to be looking at Tex Talks Battletech Exodus to Elementals. I had a poll out on my channel to see what I should do after finishing the giant pile of things that didn't reduce me to tears by the end, covering the Amara Civil War. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should do a nicer, slower video. Just look at something, maybe like the Mackie. No, the poll was very clear. I'm suffering through this right now. Multiple people have given me money in streams for the explicit purpose of alcohol for this video. Oh God, am I freaked out going into this? Yeah. So I didn't actually buy any bourbon yet. Mostly because I cannot stomach bourbon. I'm very much a lightweight when it comes to drinking. But we're just going to jump right in and maybe convince me that was a mistake and I should try harder spirits than I'm used to. Yeah, you guys know the deal. There's a link below to the original video. Hit it up. And when you're done, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and give me an idea how many shots I'm going to need to prepare in advance for the next video. It'll probably help. Let's get started. Ooh, space. Oh. Wait, what? I'm going with welcome to Space Station 13? What? Is that a reference to something? Oh shit, what the hell? No, what the? Okay, it looks like it's just a space rest stop and... Seriously, I did not see what that was. I'm guessing space debris, or is it a clanner? Is it a freaking clanner? It's either that or an Irby. Those are the only two memes I can assume that will hit this right now. Come on, I know you're coming any second now. Just get in the hole. I have no idea what I said. Oh, here we go. And it's a... I have no idea what that is. It's a sphere. Is it supposed to be some kind of really low-res 8-bit dropship? It's the only thing in Battletech I can imagine. Unless they're just pulling this asset from Metroid. Yeah, I got no idea what that is. Huh. Also, cool thing in the background. No idea what it is. Space station?
Howdy, folks.
That's probably
Please take your seats. I'm glad you could find your way to the client.
Okay, there's the 8-bit, so apparently that was the person driving it. Also, no batchalls. They even put the freaking reference there. And this is from when they ran away, or escaped from that guy, Clan Jade Phoenix, or Purple Turkey, or whatever it's called.
Classroom today. My apologies.
Oh, it's the airlock right behind it.
Personnel had to scramble to put this shitbox together, but for our purposes, it will work just fine. We should be fine assuming the station doesn't explode, which it almost certainly doesn't with terrifying regularity.
That is a very specific way to put it out, and if this doesn't have the space station explode by the end of either this video or the next one, I will be very surprised. I'm more surprised, though, that he's saying it doesn't explode with terrifying regularity, which would imply that somehow it should explode based on how much of a pile of crap it is, and somehow it hasn't. Which is in its own right kind of terrifying. It was like, hey, you know physics? We're going to ignore them right now. Little warp influence there.
Let me log in with my ID here and
things are dying.
Just ignore that for now. Eyes up front and
a primer on the
ignore
clans.
the noise.
Cool art. Very 80s, but not as bad as some of the others. Oh, and this is...
So
oh, I wonder if
initially this lecture was going to be
white
relatively brief, as I had originally wanted to talk about every Inner Sphere mech warrior's worst nightmare. These assholes from beyond the deep periphery and their attempts to party crash the Inner Sphere one battle at a time. This lecture was originally focused on Clanner Elementals only, their power armor, battle history, and then...
Oh, wait. Zhao's chicken? Also, holy shit, those elementals are actually huge. Also, sorry, no, I'm working off the scale of mechs from the previous videos being Starleak era. They just decide, you know what would be fun? Make them Gundam-sized. Not the small ones, the oversized massive Gundams at top of that. Yeah, also, hey! I don't know what those are. I was going to say Archer because all the stuff up there, but I don't know, and they look cool because guns. I like guns. Guns are fun.
Afterwards to let you guys decide whether they were either first-rate murder hobo shock troops or merely convenient footballs for your assault lance. We even had a good tagline for this.
Going to be honest, I've had a little experience with them, and that experience is they're not that threatening. Oh God, oh God, oh God! In that specific order. Yeah, also, I have a few I'm going to paint up because I am bringing them next time I play because I can do that. Still not sure if they can survive being dropped from a mech from orbit. I'm assuming they'll die, which is why I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to ask first in case I'm wrong.
This initial production. But that was before I read my mountain of messages.
The elementals explode this summer. Okay, I get that's an elemental because that's the big... What is this? Oh, is there more than one power armor type? Ooh, has a robot extender arm. Sorry, I've only seen the one copy with like the big triangle backpack. So it's really cool to see a different variation. Unless it's just another thing altogether.
Emails and the numerous other inquiries.
Wait, does that have 4 arms?
You see, I had made what we call in the education business a fucking boo-boo.
What?
I'd put the spotlight of historical inquiry onto a big subject, and as a result, people had a multitude of follow-up questions.
Yes!
Which I suppose is my own damn fault. After all, I'd followed up a major history lecture 2-parter with a relatively brief history on a middling, if borderline, generic General Motors product.
I watched these out of orders, and I know people said to go back, but honestly, I just want to see something new, and this is cool. Thanks to GM for actually reaching out, being nice, and not suing the living Oh yeah, because they actually did respond to him when he sent the emails asking about the fusion drives. Still, I love the fact that that actually is a thing that happened in reality. Just, I know I pointed it out before, and I know people have pointed out to me, and I'm going to say it again because that's just cool. I don't say this often, as in I don't think I've ever said it, but good on you, GM. More of a Honda guy myself, mostly because I can afford them. Afford is a very
Through communication during office hours, I became distinctly aware that my audience wanted to know what in the hell became of the SLDF.
Yes.
Years and decades after the conclusion.
I mean, that's why I came to this video. I didn't realize it was actually for a different purpose.
And how they had fared in the deep periphery on their exodus from the
Badly?
sphere. The main question was this: how in the hell did the battle-scarred survivors of the legendary SLDF...
I know this is so badly off scale, but god damn, is that freaking beautiful, man. Like, the individual regimental troops are down here, the tanks barely come up to the ankle, and these things are just giant gods walking around, and it's beautiful. They're also literally probably 4 times larger than the mech actually should be, based on the size comparisons. The actual mech, each and every one, doesn't matter which one, would come up to maybe the kneecap right here, but this just looks cool. I mean, can you imagine the size of the missiles these catapults would fire? Oh, baby.
Slowly turn into,
well, Shadowhawks.
These guys. Having heard your questions, and
why are they wearing them on the nose?
I left a great many threads hanging. I adjusted the scope of today's lecture accordingly. Today, we are going to discuss the eventual fate of General Alexander Kerensky, his family, and the remnants of the SLDF who followed him.
Everyone says, what I hate Nicholas from this.
We're going to talk about how, out there in the deepest reaches of the periphery, they forged their own destiny, and how the needs of survival changed them.
Okay, more importantly, cool art. I've seen this specific art a lot because people seem to really like it, because it's probably the one time you see a face in Battletech and what the hell happened to this guy? Huh. Okay. I know they're probably going to attribute it to the genetic engineer, but like, no, that is terrifying. That's steroids. That's terrifying. More importantly, I just want to take a look at this. The Chainali Isles, Columbus, Janfork. I'm assuming this is the far periphery. I know it's clan space, but I kind of want to say it's pretty far. I mean, it does look very far. I am wondering, though. Oh, I'm just going to scroll out to see if... I'm so used to using the Battletech map. I was actually trying to scroll out to get a better view of the actual map, because in HSB, the harebrained scheme version of Battletech's game, I can do that, and it's cool because you can see everything. And then I was like, no, wait, still watching it, not playing a game. I'm not addicted. I can stop whenever I want, which is why when I gave up on trying to stop because I never wanted to, I got Elden Ring, and now I'm addicted to that as well. And it's just a constant fight back and forth through time. And the games are both amazing. More importantly, wow. Kind of cool to see how they spread out, and they don't really have the faction line, so I assume it's more individualized. Wolf B2. I'm assuming Clan Wolf goes there just because naming convention.
They forged their own destiny.
And how
the needs
P9,
of
someone who could
changed them.
Wait, does that say Ghent?
Well, how they eventually decided to return to the Inner Sphere to right past wrongs. So, that being said,
fucked it up in the process.
Welcome to the lecture on Exodus to Elementals.
Also, what mech is that in the background?
A relatively brief primer on the clans.
I don't know.
Brief by my definition, anyways. Then again,
Isn't this one of his longest videos ever?
Allow me to say
it's two-part
whatever the fuck I want. I must offer my sincerest apologies ahead of time for those who will want me to cover everything in fine detail, as the scope of this lecture only allows for me to hit the main points, and at times only briefly so. I assure you.
This is a two-parter, and it's a 2-hour episode, and this just counts as briefly touching. You know what? I'm going to be honest. I kind of wish he went full-on obsessive detail, because I just enjoy this shit.
Many of these.
And I'm glad someone did bug him to actually get into the lore, because that's really good.
Allows through future lectures. This lesson itself is intended to serve as a primer for understanding the clans and their ways.
It looks cool.
I apologize.
Very rounded, which you don't really see in BattleTech.
Waiting for the development of this lecture, as I had taken a mandated sabbatical from these projects for my own well-being.
We did force Tex to not work for 7 days a week. Holy shit, he does that. How? Like, these are, as far as I know, all funds here go to charity. They have a bunch of, donation options. I think they don't actually take payment for these videos, which, frankly, I think they probably could get away with it. They're doing so much transformative work here that it would make a lot of sense. And this is just freaking beautiful, man. Honestly, Paradox should reach out to Tex like, hey, yeah, I know we technically have you as one of the characters, and can we just, like, pay you to just keep making more of these? Would they? I have no idea. And it would make no sense because he's just going to do it. I have no idea if he's making more, but there's so many. It's going to be a long time till I catch up. But goddamn, is this just cool.
So.
Yeah, I'm fanboying. I realize it.
Fill your glass and dim the lights.
Huh.
And we
campfire tales and people smiling. That's weird. Part 1, the final days of Starleague. Oh, we're just going
to
find that
the history of what would eventually become the clans. We will need to go back and cover several key events which directly influenced General Alexander Kerensky's eventual exodus.
Oh!
I strongly...
Okay, so this is actually something I was really wondering. I thought this would just start immediately with the exodus, not before that, because if this is still going SLDF and what influenced him to do it, this is actually taking a step back in time to get more... Oh, it's stepping back in time, and I'm going to be... Yeah, should have had the bourbon for this video.
Feel that every step taken toward and later on the Exodus road plays a part in everything that follows.
I'm curious.
To accomplish this, we must wind the clock back to February of 2784, and as we had established near the end of the Ameris Civil War lecture series, it was a dark time, full of uncertainty and fear. These were the final days of Starleague.
Somehow he was hopeful at the end, but...
By February of 2784, the Ameris Civil War was finally over, and Ameris had been dead for nearly 5 years.
Oh!
But the scars of his madness had still not healed.
Okay, going to be completely honest here. Whoa, cool time to pause. 2, I suck at following dates. When people mention, they just over my head. So I didn't realize it actually took them so long to leave afterwards. I guess it kind of makes sense, but considering the actual battle itself went on for, I think, a couple decades, if that... It was not a fast battle, but considering the length of space, and I do mean that in the physical distances achieved, and the fact that the jump drives they have are not instantaneous to anywhere, making distance and travel still a relative factor, if less than direct distance. I'm kind of surprised they actually had 5 years. I thought this would be a much more rapidly developing plan, because this is 5 years after Amaris has been dead, but before they left, so it might still be time till they did that. How long did he just stick around with and watch things fall apart? I know I could actually go online and find Sarnanet and get the actual date to, well, probably to the day even, but it's more interesting to watch Tex do it.
Successor states of the Inner Sphere were again at odds, turning their industries toward war, with the devastated hegemony in
although technically it sounds like they kind of were doing just not openly yet.
Soon going to whoever laid claim to them first. The SLDF at this point was a bare remnant of its once former glory, and any notion of the pre-war Leviathan force was now consigned to a fate unknown. They had campaigned long and hard to rid the Inner Sphere of perhaps the worst tyrant yet seen, and through sheer determination and heroic sacrifice, they had achieved that aim at enormous cost.
Okay, this is something you don't usually see in Battletech art, at least from what I've seen so far. Troops. Not in crazy death poses with over-the-top faces in the 80s style, I guess, torture porn-esque versions of them, where they look super deformed and almost chibi in the expressively non-realistic style. I know exactly what I said there. It's probably pissing a lot of people off. I stand by it. It kind of is super deformed in such a way that it does kind of fit that style. But more importantly, this is just troops trudging. This is something you don't see in Battletech when they show people. It's always people running from things blowing up, running to things blowing up, being blown up, standing on a pile of corpses. That one I've actually seen a few different times. Texas use that specific art and variations of it. It's a common thing, really. Just watching people in their armor, walking, trudging, seeing how forward bent he is, literally under the weight of the pack and what he's doing. It's a very evocative bit of art right here. And this is hyper zoomed in, so it's not even the full picture. And of course, there's the Marauder up there. God, I love those mechs. And it just, yeah, cool bit of art.
But peace,
I know he did an entire breakdown of 80s style art. I need
the war had established
that
a
someday.
dangerous
I do a live stream of it
for the history of the Inner Sphere, in that Ameris' actions had not only killed Richard Cameron, but the very
one good thing he did.
League, a usurper.
I'm standing by that.
The head off of not only a dynasty but an ideology. Ameris had proved that a House Lord could, with sufficient preparation, resources, and guile, establish primacy over the Inner Sphere with a single master stroke of diabolical genius. Star League was at this point reduced to the bare...
Sorry, I find this ironic that what Tex is saying now, showing what Amar's proved, is setting up everything for the Inner Sphere up to the clan invasion. Because it shows, yes, with the plan and with enough force, one Lord can try to take over, and it is possible. But because he's acknowledging that, setting the blueprint for what's going to happen, it also shows that one concentrated force coming in from the periphery and then working its way in can also succeed, which is literally also proving the concept of the clans could work. An exterior force invading internally to a much more heavily defended and prepared target, which also wasn't even needed, but proving could be happen now. So they're literally, I'd say it's a reenactment of the clan invasion, but no, it's literally a precursor showing, yes, we're going to reenact what's going to happen 100 years. So it's not really a reenactment. It's literally the prequel version because they're actually doing it. The Star League is taking over Earth, which is, or taking back Terra, I guess. Why did they rename it Terra from Earth? I mean, I know in 40K they just forgot and just got fucked in the head. Why did they do it in Battletech? Usually there's a reason for a lot of things in Battletech, so I'm assuming someone actually knows. If you know, let me know, please. I'm actually very curious. But just, yeah, I know I'm hyper, well, I was going to say simplifying it, but probably insulting it. Just to say that they're reenacting events that will happen in the future. And I know that's a mistaken way to phrase it, but I'm not going to think of a better one right now. It's also late and I'm tired. And I'm going to stick to that as the reason, not just because I'm an idiot like normal. Yes, I'm sticking to that one. It's just, by acknowledging one, he's laying claim to the other, even if he didn't intend to, but it does hold true. Just cool how that happened out.
Damage to Gemini, the SLDF, and whatever the House Lords had not claimed for themselves.
We'd love to get a puzzle of the entire hegemony structures, how they all fit together.
Lord,
be really cool to build.
Power at the heart of the Inner Sphere, much
especially if it was like a clear plastic
conflict. A dangerous power vacuum had emerged. With no First Lord or royal dynasty to lead the government, the situation seemed increasingly hopeless. The functional head of the Star League government had been vacated, after all, in this case literally, and no agreed-upon means
God damn it,
to restore the government post-war had yet.
No, that's probably the editor doing that one.
There was, after all, no contingency
though.
Plan for a scenario this unthinkable. The Cameron dynasty was, for all intents and purposes, removed from the Inner Sphere, and all they had stood for was, at most, for now, a distant memory.
Gotta be honest, though, I'm very surprised no one tried to say, I have found the Cameron survivor, and just done some random genetic bullshit to manipulate genes they had, basically make a Flash clone and say that counts. Literally, considering that at this point they do actually have some very advanced medical technology. I'm only saying that because this is Star League era. Most of their tech was really fucking terrifyingly good. And batshit terrifying when you get into what they could do and think about some of the implications they didn't use. I think mostly that's just because some of those implications we thought of later, and the writers at the time just didn't focus on them so much as the mass destruction aspects, not the more insidious sociological ones, such as we can make a person who just on one specific day will have a hormonal imbalance that will make him, under these specific circumstances, start murdering people. But only because we've introduced this virus that makes them do it. For example, there's, and this is actually something I almost regret saying because this is a real thing, parasites that make the host suicidal and make them take actions based on how they infect the nervous system and brain structure of their host bodies. It's mostly something that infects, I think, snails and other types of insects, but that is something they can have. I would not be surprised if Battletech's medical technology has reached that level. I'm really glad they never focused on the fact that they could probably do some really fucked up transhumanist stuff here, which I know kind of did happen later on in Word of Blake. I'm not looking at that for a reason, mostly because I will lose my lunch and my breakfast. And for good measure, I will somehow consume and eat tomorrow's breakfast just to lose it now. I really want to stop thinking about this. Also, if you try and look up those bugs, I am so sorry. I really shouldn't have brought them up. I regret everything.
And a dead dream.
Still surprised no one tried to lie about that.
The powers to be hadn't tried to fix things. For immediately after the Ameris Civil War, the Star League High Council had met to settle outstanding affairs of state.
Oh, they actually tried.
A new First Lord. But through mutual distrust and endless debate on who would inherit the mantle of leadership, they had been unable to reach a lasting decision.
Yeah, and the fucked up thing here is one of the compromises thrown in history is a either rotating head of state or a triumvirate head of state where three people would assume more direct control. That has almost never worked. I'm looking at you, Rome. Yeah, it basically led to Caesar. Because he just was like, fuck it, I'm taking over. Hypersimplified, but basically.
After having been completely unable to agree on the actual issue of succession,
it might actually be better. They just broke.
Pulled away from the negotiations and acted in unison to dissolve the Star League High Council in October of 2070.
Wait, they actually voted on doing that?
That is, after stripping General Alexander Kerensky of his titles and authority. For that issue was one of the few major things they had completely agreed upon, that the good general was no longer needed to wear the title of protector. The great lords of the Inner Sphere were in part terrified that the general would, through his legendary leadership and command of the SLDF, take control of Star League if he were to remain in any position.
Wait, that's Kerensky? Holy shit. Sorry, I'm always used to him being much more somber. This is so heavily lined. I thought this was like someone doing a Palpatine XP and just added it into Battletech. The first time I saw it, that's literally what I thought. And this must be the moment where he's stripping himself of the titles they just removed. Lao doesn't look happy. Whoever this asshole is very much smug. You can see a little upturn of the lips right there. Huh. I'm used to hating Lao and them actually looking down, being shameful. Of course, voting for it, but realizing they fucked up. Anyone from the Lao representative, that's actually a little surprising. I don't like giving Lao credit. Huh, this feels awkward. But yeah, they put so much detail on the eyes, the excessive lines of sheer anger. Like these lines right here, I can't even... Ow. Okay, bad idea. But I can't just... That comes with weathering, specifically from frowning so much for so long that these wrinkles build up in the skin around the face. It's someone who has grown accustomed to extreme pain, that the skin has worn down, that their ability to reduce the wrinkles just through relaxation has stopped, because at this point you're building them up to an almost constant presence, and this is extreme amounts of just tension in the face, and it's brutal art. You could see him just grabbing that. There's the little badge he put down. They stripped him, so he's stripping himself of the actual physical representations.
Of significant authority. There were also very real concerns that even if they had agreed to appoint a new First Lord, Alexander Kerensky would shape the future for any political dynasty, as he had tried to do with the Camerons. The fact that Alexander Kerensky had brought Amaris to justice was lost on them. The fact that Kerensky had seen the evil in Amaris and acted upon it, that he had tirelessly crusaded to save the Star League from its greatest threat, that he had refused to back down, to give ground or give up through many hellacious campaigns, were all irrelevant considerations from the perspective of the High Council. To them, he was just a general, and to them, generals were easily replaced.
Not so much as I want to say, it's more just self-serving assholes. This is one of the reasons I feel awkward about supporting the Inner Sphere against the clans, because I don't like the Inner Sphere leaders. Like, some of them became cool, and some of them were cool, but just... I literally just want to go out and find if there is an SLDF timeline you can play in, because that'd be cool. Yeah. Mostly because you have massive artillery sections, and it'd almost be a completely different game at that point. And by artillery sections, I mean, okay, I have the 20 catapults I need for this specific unit, and the 20 Highlanders. I don't know why I'm sticking on 20. I'm just going to bring 20 and see if anyone is willing to do that. Would it be a good idea? No. I don't have the money to do that either. But it would be cool to do once and then finish maybe a month later.
But as history would have it, General Alexander Kerensky had other plans. After they dismissed Kerensky and his grand notions of rebuilding the Star League, they made one more faithful decision. The great House Lords of the Inner Sphere agreed that Jerome Blake would be appointed to the position of Star League Minister of Communications in order to rebuild the Star League's shattered communications network that they all relied upon. The great houses all needed the HPG network, which had been nearly destroyed during the war.
The irony here is, if Kerensky wasn't an honest man, if he wasn't a good person and taking the elemental action, sorry, the Exodus action to specifically cut out the violence and hoping it would be better in the future, he could take the Dune solution here. Not so much controlling the spice, which is necessary, but controlling, well, the communications, which is necessary. And more importantly, fucking around with them almost imperceptibly to not just give himself an advantage, but make sure everyone else did what he wanted, which is literally what Comstar did. He could have basically Comstarred it himself and unintentionally or intentionally made himself emperor. But also, Kerensky wouldn't do that, because if he was that kind of monster, he wouldn't be the person who should have done that. I keep getting stuck on that. He wouldn't take these horrible actions because he's a good person. And if he was the kind of person to take these horrible actions, he wouldn't have been someone I would have wanted to take these actions to make him... I have conflicting feelings about this. Also, I realize you literally just have the Comstar logo behind the Star League symbol. Huh. Cool little editing there.
And couldn't trust anyone other than a dedicated neutral party to oversee it. This decision would have far-reaching consequences.
And also they were wrong, because he was in, technically...
But I will get to that lesson in time.
See, there it is.
And after those few decisions on which they could
Merrick. Live now, Star League! Dunzo? Oh, Dunzo. Ya boy, Merrick. God, he looks like such a fuckboy. It was fun while it lasted. Screw you. Amaris Fried Chicken, now with extra betrayal. Oh, God. Just throw it in there. It's probably the first time we've ever seen this without a Golden Corral joke.
reach consensus, they summarily dissolved the High Council, telling the Inner Sphere via broadcast that future compromise was impossible on the issue of succession. With that done, they then left for their own holdings to prepare for the power struggles to come. To the High Lords, Starleague was now dead and buried, and the future of their houses was now firmly in their own hands. Privately, the Great Lords had decided for themselves that each of them was the rightful inheritor of Starleague.
Of course they did.
There can be only one First Lord. The solution to this disagreement would in time be solved in the standard manner common to the Inner Sphere.
By
Total
failing.
War. Their inability
war
to
too.
give ground. To find commonality in these dire times, and their greed and avarice had set the stage for generations of inter-house conflict and served as the direct catalyst to the 4 great succession wars which would follow. But despite being dismissed from his role as protector, General Kerensky still hadn't given up hope. For years, he would exhaustively try and fail to reconvene the Great Lords, spending his time shuttling between the various factions, meeting with them individually in order to bring them together once more, to find any common ground for negotiation and perhaps restart the spark of Starleague. He tried to show them.
Is it weird that this is hard to hear? Because I want to be wrong. I want him to succeed. I want to hear that something happened. Maybe something good I'm not expecting. We know that's not going to be the case because at the end of the Amaris video, we already knew this failed. And hearing it more in depth, like I know I said earlier, I wanted Tex to go into a minutia and just deep dive into the details, which now he is, and I'm not even at the part people were warning me about yet. God damn it.
That as a people united once more under a single cause, they could potentially provide a new, wonderful age of progress and plenty to
Probably
their people.
could have, too.
Or at the very least, they could recover from the generation of war the Inner Sphere had just crawled out of.
And that's the problem. He's not negotiating with rational actors. He's negotiating with tyrants. Now, are they all tyrants? No, I realize that, and I'm fully aware that at this time, they're all better than Amaris. Even Kurita. It's a very low bar. And from what people have said, the only person who got under it is Kerensky's son. Still haven't got there yet. It's going to be fun when I do. Fun is definitely the word I'm thinking about, not the one I'm censoring myself to. I don't... How many other people watch this and rack their brains trying to think of an alternative to see how that could have worked? And the only one I can think about is if he tried the same trick, literal trick, that the initial Cameron dynasty pulled, where they basically flat out lie and say everyone else already agreed, to make everyone else agree because they thought they'd be left behind. And honestly, they could probably do a really damn good job of it because he has that behind-the-scenes agreement with Comstar. Sorry, the HPG Network Control Center right now. When does it become called Comstar anyways? I know it's not yet. I just don't actually know when that official name came in. But just, yeah, Blake would probably have gone with it if it meant not fucking things up and maybe making his life easier because he seemed like a just general bureaucrat. Sorry, technocrat. I'm almost in the point right now where I'm actively going to go and search for fan fiction just to see an alternate take on how maybe Kerensky would have convinced them. I know it's not going to be real, but I just want to hear something that doesn't end like I know this has to. Why is this so damn hard?
Minimally, Kerensky was trying to at least prevent the slow slide into war he felt was coming.
Yeah.
Perhaps Kerensky
it was
wanted
slow
to
up until
feel
it wasn't
that
anymore.
All he and his men had sacrificed for was not in vain, but his pleas fell on deaf ears. Inner Sphere nobles being what they are, one by one they had opted to ignore the great general, and when he had finally exhausted every last option for a lasting diplomatic solution, Alexander Kerensky knew what he had to do. Keep in mind
Deny
that
an
he
asset.
alone was still at this point provisionally in command of the single largest military the Inner Sphere had, and most of them were still willing to do whatever the hell the great general said was necessary, even if it meant going to war once more. And that course of action had indeed been suggested. For General Aaron D. Chevalier, Alexander Kerensky's right-hand man,
that's Chevalier. That's what it looks like.
had forwarded the thought that maybe the SLDF should solve the problems of the Inner Sphere by doing away with these petty nobles and their political aspirations once and for all.
He's not wrong. And if the history of Battletech has proven anything, he would have probably been right. But then Kerensky would have never taken this option because he is a much better person than the House nobles. And each one of them would have taken him up on that offer right away. And then they would have been just as bad and nothing would have changed. God, it's... How is this so fucking frustrating? You know what, I know Kerensky's going to say no. I know that the one plan is not going to work. I'm almost hoping to hear that there was some kind of secret plan he set up to it, which I guess is the Crusader clans that came back. Maybe if they came back sooner, maybe after the First War, but before the Second Succession War, it might have made a difference and they wouldn't have been as fucked as clans. I just hate what they devolved into. It's like just that little carrot hovering out of reach. That little carrot, you know, that whip's right behind you going like, sorry, not the whip, the switch. You'd have the good option and the bad option, and you know which one's coming, but you still want to grab that good option and just, I think I'm going to have to cut this one here tonight because I need to go cool down. This is just freaking painful, man. Okay, so I might have got a bit heated by the end of this video, and I stand by it because it's literally just rubbing at everything I want to hear, just having the option. Someone brought it up, and you know he's not going to take it, and if he would have taken it, he wouldn't have been someone who was so good that you would have wanted him to take it in the first place. This part of Battletech lore is very much good people doing the right thing for the right reasons and failing despite it. And when they're presented with a choice that could work, but would destroy them in the process, not so much them as a person, but them as the monolith we know. From everything people have told me about Chevalier, he's kind of insane in the most glorious way possible. And he's a good counterbalance to Kerensky being very much on par, on the level, and just goddamn honorable. But it hurts to hear these options that were presented because they just make it worse because you know what's going to happen. I keep coming back to this and it keeps hurting. Tex, can you just like fuck this up, make it less interesting, a little less engaging? Because that would make it a lot easier to breeze through this. It'd be a nice boring lesson. I would be like, okay, yeah, they offered it, didn't. No! I love this series. I'm invested in this series. I'm goddamn massive fan of Battletech now because of this. And it's not making it better. If anything, it's actively making this more painful. So yeah, I haven't even got to the stuff people warned me I needed bourbon for, and I'm already thinking I should have come here with a significant drink, not just a snifter, not just a cup. I'm thinking full-on ale mug, man. I would be shit-faced by then, but it might have been worth it. I am way too sober for this video. Next time I will fix that. All the same, you guys know the deal. Link below, original video, hit it up. And if you know just how much blood alcohol content I should aim for by the end or beginning of the next video, let me know. I will take the advice under consideration and probably do that plus a little more. Yeah. Oh, and don't forget to go tell Tex he's awesome, because he is. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.